Doral. We are back with another episode of In the City con Christi, where we continue to meet incredible people that make up, you know it, the greatest place to live, work, learn, and play, Doral. Today, we're going to focus on back to school. And who better to speak to us about how to get prepared for back to school and what your children can expect for this school year other than our great friend, Vice Chair of the school district, Danny Espino, our very own school board member for District 5.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Well, as many of you know, I was at the school board before Danny. Danny got appointed when I decided to come back over here to Doral. And so I said, he was a little offended I hadn't invited him to the podcast, truthfully. First, we did our round table. He's like, I haven't even been a guest. I'm like, it's coming. I've got a very special podcast saved for you, which is our back to school podcast.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we're doing back to school starts in 2 weeks. Yes, in 2 weeks. Our backpack drive is coming up. We're going to talk a little bit about that too. But I wanted to invite Danny Espino for all of our viewers, all of our residents, business owners, students, everyone who comes to Doral and also sees our podcast to get to know a little bit about you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I look forward to it.
Yeah, we've had a lot of great people here, including our city manager, your beautiful wife.
Yes.
Barbie.
Yes, which I'm happy she went before me.
Yes.
I would never live it down otherwise.
Otherwise, yes. So we want to get to know you personally.
Of course.
A little bit about who you are. I mean, I know a lot of who you are. He's also a dear friend. But I want the community to know that person that I know. Give us your history in Doral, because some people don't know about that either. He's got a lot of history in Doral, which makes this place very special to him. And why we always knew he'd be the perfect person for this job. And then we're going to talk a little bit about how families get ready for back to school. And you're a dad with 4 boys. Yeah. So you're definitely getting ready for back to school.
They'll be all in school this year for the first time.
That's right. Everybody will be together.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, Dan.
Well, as you said, married to Barbie. We have 4 boys, Lucas, Ben, Elliot, and Jacob, 10, 9, 6, and 2.
Sounds like a football team.
It is. We one more.
Roster.
We have a whole basketball team. So our lives are pretty busy with a lot of boys. And that's really my favorite job. I have a lot of jobs. Obviously a school board member. I'm also an attorney. We own a business. My brother and I own a business. But being a dad is my favorite one. And it's really what drives me, what motivates me in trying to advance not just our families, but all families in Miami-Dade County.
Yeah, I love that about your bio. When you read your bio, it says that by far your best job or your most favorite job is being a dad.
Absolutely.
It says a lot about your character.
It's a lot of fun having boys. Not that having girls is not fun, but
we wouldn't know.
Right, I wouldn't know. I have 4 boys, so
me neither.
I get to play with them. We get to do sports. I get to coach baseball. I get to help on soccer.
Yeah.
Now this year we got to do basketball for the first time. So it's a learning experience, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, awesome. So you are an attorney.
Yes, I am.
Yeah. We won't say more about that.
No. Practicing land use and zoning law now, but for many years I was a city attorney.
Yes.
I did spend 5 years here in the city of Doral.
And that's the history with Doral.
Absolutely. I mean, so I feel like I grew up in Doral here, professionally and personally, but I also think that Doral grew up a lot while I was city attorney.
100%.
Sort of like those middle formative years.
Yeah. Some great years in my opinion.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure to work together with you and the previous council. Got to work with a lot of people that are part of the administration now, certainly, and we did a lot of good things here in Doral. So it's nice to come back and see those things be put into action. A lot of the parks, a lot of the things. Obviously, the bond is still being developed, but all that I wrote the draft language of the bond language that went out to everybody. So I care about this community. My heart is here. My kids go to school across the street from City Hall. So while I live in Miami Springs, my heart is in Doral on a daily basis.
I was going to say you were born and raised in Miami Springs.
Yes, I am.
You're a Miami Springs guy, close to Doral, but it's great for you because District 5 represents Miami Springs, Doral, Sweetwater.
Absolutely. And, before there was a formal Doral, there was always an area of Doral. And Miami Springs, being a small community, didn't have a lot, so I always came out to Doral to live, to do everything that we do.
And then not a lot was in Doral at that time either.
No, I've certainly seen Doral grow up as much over the last 40 years, seeing how it's become one of the important economic nodes, residential nodes, recreational nodes of Miami-Dade County. It's a lot to be proud of.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's great that you're able to represent those areas that you've gotten to know really well.
Absolutely.
You also represent, again, Sweetwater.
Medley, Sweetwater, Hialeah, and City of Miami.
Yeah, awesome.
And Virginia Gardens.
There's so many great schools in District 5. Not I'm not biased because I was
Maybe
also
maybe a little,
just a little
maybe
bit.
a little bit.
But I love District 5, and I think we've got incredible schools. And I always used to say this when I was on the school board, and now particularly Doral, more biased than anything. But we have such a special community.
Yeah.
Parents so involved.
It's by far.
I
It's
mean,
incredible. It really is.
I saw schools across the district, and I never saw as much engagement as we get in District 5, but particularly Doral.
Absolutely. I say that's everywhere. I mean, it's interesting. I think we take it for granted. Even in my son's school, downtown Doral Charter, some of the other schools, John I. Smith, EBT, you've got this engaged parents, and we take it for granted. There's some schools in the district that don't have a functioning PTA
I know.
or a PTO.
Sad.
And that is a critical missing component for any school, because the schools need that support. They need that parent involvement. They need that parent voice. I mean, frankly, I feel like my job as a school board member, number one, is to give that voice of parents on the school board amplified in a way that really wasn't represented when you were on there.
Yeah.
I mean, there were very few parents. You may have had some grandparents up there, but the voice of parents is being represented now in a way that wasn't present, not only just in the district, but also in the school board.
Well, that's, when I ran on that was, you remember, because you guys lived in Miami Springs and I was running. I ran on the fact that I couldn't believe that there was no parents of actual kids in school on the school board. There was one, Dr. Gallen has his daughter in school, but there was nobody else that really had that voice, no mother. And for me, that was such a big part of why I wanted to be on the school district. And for me, it was a tough decision to decide to come back to Doral. I never intended, and we had this conversation, I never intended to do it in the middle of my term. Unfortunately, things here shifted, and it was the right time for me to come back and do what I really felt I was called to do, and had a passion, and I really felt where I could best serve my community because of all the experience I had being a council member here for 8 years and all the projects that were in line. And I also wasn't very happy with some of the things that had happened. So, but I always said I wouldn't leave unless I knew that the district was going to be in good hands of someone that had a very similar vision and was a parent with children actually in the school district. And so I was very, very happy to see that the governor made the decision to appoint you to the school district. And I don't regret at all having left and allowing for that transition to happen.
I appreciate that. I appreciate the vote, the governor's confidence, the lieutenant governor's confidence, our education commissioner's confidence, all of whom were supportive of my selection. But to your point about parents' involvement, even still right now, even though we've had a shift on the ages of some of the members of the school board, Dr. Gallen and I are the only ones with school-age children. Because everybody else has either kids that are a little bit older, perhaps they're in a private school, or have moved on to college, and so they're not living the day-to-day of being on 3 different apps at the same time.
Oh my God, on the chats.
Living on chats. Hablando con todos los padres on the chats at the same time. So it's a very different dynamic when you're experiencing the pickup and drop off, when you're experiencing the lunch complaints, you're experiencing the facility issues, when you're experiencing the amount of homework the kids are getting. It brings a different perspective to the things that we're doing on a daily basis on the board. Yeah,
absolutely. I'm really excited to see everything you guys are doing. I think it's great. I was a big proponent of parental involvement, parental voice, and also changing the model of how children learn these days. Mental health was a big one for me too. You've seen the things that we've done.
Absolutely.
And I really appreciate you being a part of the roundtable that we had for our seniors during Mental Health Awareness Month. So I really look forward to seeing those initiatives continue to evolve at the school district. I've always said education is not a one-size-fits-all. And we are a system that hasn't changed in many, many years, over 100 years.
So, I mean, as we have to operate as a district, but really each one of our districts, each one of our schools presents an opportunity to come up with new ideas, new solutions for individual challenges. And then maybe that could be a model for solutions that we bring across the district. We're pushing mental health a great deal, not only with campaigns, but also how we fund it and how we're offering it. We're looking at, as a matter of fact, we're evaluating right now an entire bullying campaign that better defines what bullying is, better identifies the penalties for that, and better identifies how do we overcome it both from the part of the victim as well as the aggressor. Because oftentimes, someone that's doing bullying is hurting themselves and really needs a different outlet to figure out how to do better. But school safety is incredibly important. I'm very proud to have joined you and the schools, the Safer Schools group that's based out of here in Doral, to start advancing the conversation of not just how do we make schools safer, but how do we make everybody a part of that school safety. See something, say something. We brought an item earlier this year that makes response time for police officers faster in our schools, and we're looking to finalize that a little later this year, and make schools a safer place. It's our kids' second home. Yes. It really is. And so there's 2 things about it. Number one, it's got to be as safe as it possibly can be. and number two, without becoming a prison.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, our kids are not prisoners. They're there. They have to feel safe, but they have to feel welcomed and expelled.
Right. Well, it has to be an inviting environment for education and learning.
Exactly right.
And it can't be if it's not a welcoming environment.
Exactly.
So it is a tough balance. You know, I'm really proud of what we've done here in Doral too. Obviously, we have the great benefit of having Chief Lopez, which was the chief of the Miami-Dade County Public School System.
You're in great hands.
Yes. And so we are very fortunate in Doral that we can collaborate. And dare I say, I think our offices are working together better than ever, I think, in the history of Doral being a city and the school district. I mean, the collaboration between your office and my office, like I said, I think it's the best it's ever been in an effort to provide a resource and information to our community and really work in the best to enhance the learning environment for our students.
I think one of the things that I bring to the table, obviously we have our relationship and the relationship I have with the city of Doral, but having represented municipalities, I mean, I was a city attorney of Miami Springs. I did represent Virginia Gardens. I did represent Medley. I did have relationships, obviously, in Hialeah and Miami. I'm trying to break down the barriers between the different levels of government. So I'm working with some of our county commissioners. I'm working with some of our cities to have better relationships so that we're working all together at the same time. Because at the end of the day, the same way that city halls are a central part of a community, schools should be a central node of a community.
Absolutely. I was just going to get to that. So one of the things that I tried doing when I was at the school district, and I really believe that the school district needed someone like you that has that experience on the legal side too, in breaking down some of those barriers, because I found it so challenging to try and get something done. Something as simple as like City of Miami wanted to come and improve some of our open areas that we were not utilizing as a school district to provide parks in park deserts within the city of Miami. And I was like, this is a benefit to the children in our community. Get them off the streets, get them in the parks. City of Miami is willing to invest and monitor and put programming. And it was like, barrier after barrier after barrier, and it's really frustrating and difficult, especially when you come from you come from a culture like here, right in Doral, where it's easy to get things, not easy, but it's easier to like have a conversation and get things done, or from the private sector. Right.
Well, Doral has a lot of great things. One is that it's innovative. It's also new. So there isn't we've done it like this for 25, 40, 50 years, which is something that I've had to deal with, and it's very frustrating. I mean, the bureaucracy that people complain about, I live it day to day. When I want to do something as a school board member, and I find resistance from within saying, well, we've never done it like that. And I said, yeah, but it's time to be innovative. I love school choice. We need to have a lot of options for our children, whether they're private, vocational, charter, magnet. And if we're going to compete as a public school system, we need to be able to be flexible and innovative. But absolutely, I mean, as a matter of fact, I've been a big proponent of public-public partnerships or public-public-private partnerships where we have private entities come in, and I just supported one last meeting where AFA, the Argentinian Soccer Federation, is improving Treasure Island Elementary and North Bay Village. Again, not in our district, but it was important to watch that one develop as a model to how we could potentially do that in our district and see how we can leverage our green spaces when they're not used for schools, how they can be used for the community.
Yeah, we need to invest also into some of our green spaces in the schools.
Yes.
Ronald Reagan is one we've talked about.
Right.
And so we got to work on that. But,
absolutely. Well, everybody's very jealous of JCB's new fields.
Yes. We got to do more for Ronald Reagan and count on the city for that too. We've had those discussions.
And I've spoken to Principal Garrigo about it. And as a matter of fact,
we need the space. As a city, you know that people are knocking down our door.
All the time.
To get space.
And we're getting the same thing, but one of the things that we should be proud of is that JCB is now becoming the standard of what school fields should be like that. And so the question is now, how do we allocate the resources to be able to make that happen as many places as we can? Yeah,
absolutely. Well, you've been on the job now for about 10 months?
A little less than that. Since end of November, so I wouldn't really count that. So 7 months.
Yeah. Well, that's true. Yes, about 7 months.
7 months.
How do you feel? You like it?
Good. I mean, it's great. It's amazing. I mean, the exposure to our classrooms and our schools has been unbelievable. What we ask our principals and our teachers to do is nothing short of magical. And I feel my job is to figure out how to be their advocate at what I call the mothership, at the school board administration building. How can I best be an advocate for our schools to make that magic happen? Of course, I've seen a lot of challenges. I mean, we went from COVID into this period that we're in where we're having job vacancies in teachers. We've had 20,000 foreign-born students, most of whom I should say don't speak Spanish, and many of whom have never been in school or have had very little schooling. So we're getting really we're stretching our teachers in our schools, not to the point of capacity, but just the number of kids per teacher.
Yeah.
And we're looking to adapt that. So the whole point is to try and be as supportive of theirs as possible. We're also coming to the end of federal funding that have been used for really important positions, like school counselors and interventionists. And how do we continue to have those positions available for our students? And frankly, I was kind of surprised to find out that there wasn't a whole lot of planning on what to do when those monies ran out by our administration. So we're having to make those tough decisions now as we work our budget process coming into this next fiscal year.
Yeah, I let that be known when I was on the district too, and I kind of what's the word, I forewarned them that I saw that coming when I came in. Those funds were being utilized, and that you saw a huge deficit in the budget, and so it's everything I told you it was going to be.
Yeah, it's cut out to be. It's everything and more. It's everything and more.
I'm just messing with you. Well, I'm super happy that you're able to, be in this role and bring all of your experience into, I think, what really was needed in the district. Let's talk a little bit about back to school. First day of school is August 17th.
Absolutely.
We're working together to make sure that our roads are, cleared out, that our police are providing access.
Absolutely.
We know that the first 2-3 weeks of school are always the toughest for drop off and pick up. So
as parents get used to the routine.
Yeah, as they get used to the routine. Again, we're working on making sure that there's a clear traffic plan and school safety. We're working together on that as well. Just being prepared, trying to work with the county to make sure that there's no road projects that are going to create delays. Those things that you think are simple to think about, but sometimes are like left thought of.
Right.
So we're really working on a strong plan so that it's a smooth back to school process. I'm going to do my best. So I thank your office for being available and willing to work with the city to make it
and our police also. I mean, so as much as the city of Doral deploys its police and they do a great job in our schools, I've come to see a lot of school police that actually will leave the property, direct traffic, and support the city of Doral police in places like Andrea Castillo. And other, so it's really good to see them really immersed in the community and do above and beyond what they're called to do.
Yep, absolutely. Anything that parents should be aware of for back to school? Tell us, how do parents get ready for back to school? What tips do you have? What programs can they expect this year in different age ranges?
So obviously we're still in Summer 305. So if you haven't, you still have an opportunity to enroll in Summer 305. We have a number of resources. We have parent academies that are done monthly, and those provide parents with resources. Join me on social media. I push those out from Miami-Dade schools. And those parent academies, what they do is they'll pick a topic and give in all three languages, Spanish, English, and Haitian Creole. They will give parents tips on mental health, on school sports, on enrolling on for example, special support in schools, and I think that's really important. Yeah. Otherwise, certainly getting ready back to school, find out what supplies you need. We're doing our backpack drive, which provides those that are in need with backpacks. I'm only doing them with you, but I'm also doing them. We'll be doing one in Hialeah. I'll be doing one with Manolo Reyes in the city of Miami, and the idea is to, we are a district of need. Our entire school district is a district of need, despite being the third largest in the nation. So the point is, let's bring the community out to support the parents that need the help. Yeah, absolutely. There's so many resources for you parents out there, for students as well. So there's not a lack of resources. Sometimes a lack of knowing where to go. Please knock on our door. I know that the school board member's office is more than willing to be a resource and an avenue for information, and so is my office. So please be sure to reach out in anything that we can support to make sure your child and your family is ready for back to school. Absolutely. Our backpack drive. Yes. Backpack drive is August 5th. August 5th. 10 a.m. At Ronald Reagan. At Ronald Reagan. Absolutely. So, yes, so make sure if you haven't registered, register for the backpack drive because it goes really fast. I think last year, so this year I'm doing it with you, and I know you're doing other ones, but last year I had like 3,000 book bags, and they went like this. They did. They go fast. This year we're about at 2,800. We're about 2,800 that we have. We're trying to get there. We're trying to get to like 3,000, but right now we have 2,800, which is a huge feat, and they will be stuffed with great supplies. So we really do this with a lot of consideration and thought. A lot of thought goes into what goes into these book bags because we want it to be real, useful supplies for the kids, right, for the families. Right. And this year we'll be joined by Representative Borrego as well. Yes. So we're excited to bring him on board and support the effort, and a lot of great community sponsors. Yes, and we'll be announcing all of those in videos to come. But all right, so we're coming to the end of the podcast. This is the fun part. I'm going to do a little bit of rapid questions. Okay.
And see how well you answer
Let's
these. Okay. So let's see. Some of these were provided by residents, by the way. We did
Questions
like a little
or
question.
associations? What are we doing?
We're going to do both.
Okay.
We're going to do both. Okay. If you were to go back to your school days, what advice would you give your younger self?
Oh, wow. You like back to high school?
Younger days, younger school days. Yeah, let's go high school.
I don't know. What advice would I would probably say keep working hard.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Keep working hard. Never
'Cause
give up.
I wouldn't change anything in my life right now.
It's so different today, though, than when we were in high school.
It is. I mean, it's
Such a different world.
You know, we didn't have social media. I didn't have a phone till I was older. I mean, it's different.
Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah.
I tell parents all the time, you know, you don't feel bad. Our parents were better equipped to teach us
Yep.
than we are equipped to teach our kids.
That is so true. It really
From
is.
a technology
And I used to say,
perspective.
my son will never get away with anything. I know it. Let me tell you, it's a different world.
Right.
Totally different world. So what is your most nostalgic memory of back to school?
Oh man, so I was student body president my senior year of high school.
Of course you were.
And well, yeah. I mean, and so my first day back, it was my first set of announcements. I get to do the morning announcements in high school, and so that was to me that was like a super proud moment to be able to.
So this is natural for you. What are you so nervous about?
Well, it's a little bit different than being class president, you know, but
Not so much.
that was I really.
That's your nostalgia. I'll tell you,
yeah.
my nostalgic moments of back to school was always picking my school supplies. I used to love to go to the store and like pick school supplies
Yeah.
and probably spend a lot more money on a lot more of my mom's money than I needed to. But that's always my nostalgia moment of, and I don't even do that with my son anymore. Because now,
Amazon,
it's so
right.
much easier online.
Oh,
It's quick. I
exactly.
need what's convenient and what's actually useful.
I mean, I'll sit there with them and I'll say, okay, time for a new backpack.
Right,
Let's pick a new
that
backpack.
that I do. Like I let him pick like a cool backpack, but then it ends up breaking like halfway through the year. So I'd rather buy like the better like
For me, it's
usable.
For us, it's lunch boxes.
Oh, see, that's what I should do.
They just don't
I
last.
should do, yeah. Okay, your most memorable teacher.
Oh, my most memorable teacher, Adria Toledo. She was now an attorney also.
Oh, okay.
Interesting
Wow.
enough, she was my leadership teacher throughout high school. Student government moderator, leadership teacher, civics teacher, and from the way I handle projects to the way I don't know, maybe even the way I serve in public office. I would give her a lot of credit for that.
That's high school.
High school.
You went to Pace.
Yes.
Monsignor Pace. Okay. What was your most challenging subject?
Depends on where we go. I mean, in college, I was pre-med, so
You
college,
didn't share that part. You wanted to be a doctor.
I wanted to be a doctor, so my organic chemistry was definitely the hardest part. But I liked history and I liked science, but I would say always it comes down to math.
Yeah.
Calculus and pre-calculus and
Tough.
Math, yeah.
I
I went to
hear
law
you.
school. I went to law school so I wouldn't have to do math.
Yeah. That's a way to get out
That's
of
what I
it.
told my mom anyway.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, and what was your most favorite or interesting subject? What would you like to do?
I mean, again, so it was weird because I loved history and I loved science. So I wanted to. I did things like science research projects and with Berry University but I love history. I love American history. So I kind of wore both of those hats at the same time. Right.
Yeah, well, it is, and that should have told you were probably more set out to be an attorney and
Right,
be in public office or
maybe.
politics. Okay, if there was one subject you could change in school or you could change the way students learn today, what would it be?
Civics, absolutely civics, and I think that kids learn civics by living it, versus just sitting there and reading it out of a book. And so when I was in high school, we did something with the American Legion up in Tallahassee called Boys State, and they have Girl State as well, where they take boys and girls at different times all over the state and make them form their own state, and they get to form every level of government, from municipal governments to county governments.
That's fun.
And it's a very, very immersive thing that I think that it really gets people perspective on what the job is, what it entails, how each level of government works. And frankly, I think if we did that, we'd have much more civic engagement once they graduate high school and become adults.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Okay, here's the last question. Then we're going to do word associations or choosing one word. Okay. What's your favorite cafeteria snack? And as I'm saying this, what's your favorite cafeteria snack?
Pizza.
Okay, as I'm saying this, I'm going to say, have you been to our cafeterias lately?
Well, yes. Well, not all of them. Let's just say that not every cafeteria is the same in every school. But I think it's always
what are we going to do about that? What are we going to do about the cafeteria
we have
food?
To improve. We do
you know
have
that
to improve
you know my son, and he came home at when school was finishing, and he's like, "Mom, you're the mayor. You have to do something about the food in our cafeteria." And I go, "Nope, that is not my job anymore. You can go talk to Dan."
And he gave me an earful last time.
And he did give you an earful about the cafeteria. So really, that is something that I don't understand for so long. It's been a challenge. It's a challenge to get the food, the actual supplies.
I mean, so this especially after COVID.
We got to do something about that.
After COVID, it's been very difficult from a logistical perspective. But I'll tell you that our school offerings could be better. I think. I think our cafeterias do a lot with what they have, but I think we have to improve our standards.
I could say this now because I'm not in the school district, but before I would have gotten my head bit off. I've always said we should privatize it.
It's something to look at.
I think it would be more. I think we'd probably have less waste. It would be better options. Now, this doesn't mean get rid of the cafeteria personnel. I just think that if you find a way to privatize it and utilize the Title I funding that comes in anyway in an allocation per child, you're going to end up probably saving a lot of money too. It is so painful to watch how much food gets thrown away.
Right.
I mean, tons of it.
The one thing I did tell the superintendent recently, as we renewed his contract, is I will not fault you for innovating.
Yeah.
I'd rather you try something and it not
fail,
work out than say we're not going to try anything at all.
Yeah.
There's something to take a look at.
Well, it's just some models have to change that haven't changed in a long time.
Right. We can't keep doing the same thing expecting a different result based on things that are changing.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so here we go. Pens or pencils?
Pens.
Highlighters or markers?
Highlighters.
Sticky notes or bookmarks?
Ooh, sticky notes.
Yeah. Use a calculator or mental math? Well, you just told me you don't like math, so.
Right. Yeah,
calculator.
The calculator on my phone.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, here's a good one. What's your go-to karaoke song? I should know the answer to this.
It just depends. It depends when we're
It depends what drinks you're having.
It depends. It depends what the crowd is like. Living on a Prayer, Bon Jovi.
Okay, there we go. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Your favorite topping on a pizza?
Pepperoni.
The last book you read?
Oh man, the thing is, my issues. I'm reading.
It's your son's summer reading book.
No, okay, I'm reading. I tend to read more than one book at the same time. I'm actually reading it. I guess the last thing I read was the autobiography of Teddy Roosevelt.
Oh, that's a good one. All right, I think that's it. We've got enough here, enough information to know who Danny Espino is.
Hopefully, at least a start.
Yes, definitely. Thank you very much for being with us today. Go ahead and tell everyone that's watching us where they can find you on social media. If you have an email or a number you want to share for your office. This is an important time for back to school. A lot of people have questions, and we want to make sure that they can get a hold of you.
Thank you so much. Follow me on social media, Danny Espino D5, and Danny on Instagram as well as Twitter. You can find me at D Espino at dateschools.net. My office is always open. We'll soon be celebrating the opening of an office here in the city of Doral, which is going to be a big deal just because I don't think it's important. I think it's important for everyone to be able to find us here as opposed to making everybody drive all the way to downtown and deal with that traffic. So you can find us here at City Hall on a regular basis as a resource for all of you. Yeah, we're super excited. You're opening up that satellite office here. We got to do an official ribbon cutting for that so people know. We'll make sure to put all your information on the screen as well for everybody to get a hold of. And we're going to have more information on our backpack trip, and we hope to see you there. Thank you again for joining us for another episode of In the City con Cristi, where we continue to meet the greatest people that make up the wonderful place to live, Doral. And we will see you real soon. Don't forget to send us an email with who you want to see on our podcast next time. mayor@cityofdoral.com. See you soon. Bye-bye. Thank you.